You are listening to the People First podcast.
People First is a self-advocacy group run by people with learning disabilities, and People First podcast is a platform to raise awareness about real issues that affect people with learning disabilities in our community and all around the world.
We aim to inform and entertain our listeners by interviewing interesting guests and talking about the things that really matter to us. This is like having a stage to speak out and get our voices heard.
Hello, and welcome to the People First podcast. This week, we're interviewing the Chief of Town, Luke Maunsell. Thank you for taking the time to come and meet visitors today. So, we ask some questions we'd love to know the answers to, and we hope you enjoy being on the show.
Thank you. I just first of all want to say I'm so glad to be here. I think this is absolutely fantastic. What a lovely setup you've got here. I think it's wonderful that you guys are having this opportunity to make such a brilliant podcast. I, at university, did journalism. I spent a lot of time in the radio booth, and it's just brilliant to be back in it again with you wonderful people.
Well, where are you at university now?
So I was at university. It was the University of Leeds. I graduated about a few years back with a first degree in journalism. I'm now currently a teacher working at a local school.
What are your duties as town mayor?
So in terms of my duties as town mayor, there's quite a lot of them. My main job is to chair meetings of the town council, and we have these roughly about once every 2 months. I put on the chains because I think that's important, that I wear the chains at full council, and that's when we decide and discuss lots and lots of important stuff and make big decisions, which our committees are not able to do on their own necessarily. Beyond that, my favourite part of the job is going out into the community and visiting wonderful groups like yourselves at People First, and celebrating the town and bigging it up. I absolutely love doing that because Keighley is such a wonderful place with so many wonderful people and organisations just like yourselves. On top of that as well, I've also been spending a lot of time raising money for my 2 charities, which mayors are able to do every year. The mayor picks a charity or 2 charities, whatever they wish. And so I've been spending a lot of time doing that. But it's mainly about celebrating this town, celebrating its people, and doing my best in the full council to attend meetings and make good decisions to benefit the people of this wonderful town.
What make you decide to be town mayor?
So, becoming town mayor, I think is always a bit of a journey for a councillor. When I first started in 2015, I think it was, I was very much out of my depth. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very, very political in an ideological sense in terms of believing my beliefs were the only beliefs that were right. And then over the sort of the 6 years before I stepped up to be deputy mayor, which is like the first step to becoming mayor, it's what we always advise that if you want to become mayor, you should become deputy mayor first. You have a bit of a year of practice, seeing it, understanding the impact of it, and learning and developing. But within those sort of 6 years before, I matured a lot. I began to understand the importance of listening to other people, and also learning above anything how the council works and how the town works. Because there are lots of different groups, there are lots of different organisations, there are lots of complicated issues which Keighley faces. And if you don't have a grasp on that, you don't understand that, then being mayor is tough because people will ask you, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? How do we get money for this and that? And if you don't know the answers, you can't do your job properly. So over the 6 years before I became mayor, I very much always wanted to be mayor. I thought that was something that I could do and that I needed to do to serve this town and be that sort of that role model for a lot of people, especially working in schools. That's always important that young people have something to look up to. Me being someone who was very much younger than every other councillor at the time when I joined, I was 19. Most councillors were above 40, 50. So it was something that I wanted to do to show that a young person could become mayor and could be very, very capable. But I needed to mature first. I needed to learn first. And so over 6 years, that's what I did. Became deputy mayor. Had a pretty good year. A few mistakes here and there. You always are. It's a big job. And then at the start of this civic year in May, then I was finally able to take the next step and become mayor.
Were you elected?
That is a very good question. I know things have got very confusing recently because we have elected mayors now. So we've got an elected mayor of West Yorkshire who's Tracy Brabin. So town mayors and even Bradford's mayor is a little bit different than all that. Tracy Brabin is what we call a directly elected mayor. So we vote for her. We go to the voting booth every 4 years, I think it is, and we say we want this person to be mayor, then that person becomes mayor. A town mayor or a mayor of an authority like Bradford or Leeds or Keighley or Ilkley, they are elected by the members of that council. So in Bradford Council, for example, they have it differently because they're a bigger authority. They have party politics in play. So over there, they sort of swap amongst themselves, each party, who's going to be mayor in that year. So I think they sort of earn like points over that time, depending on how many councillors they have. And then they sort of take it in turns. So at the moment, there's a Green councillor who's mayor. Next time, it could be a Conservative or it could be Labour or Liberal. They sort of swap. In a town council, or what we call a parish council, it's a little bit different, where we don't have political parties. They're not recognised in that sense. You can stand as a member of the Labour Party or the Liberals or the Greens or the Conservatives, but it's not recognised in our structure. So what we have instead, every year in May, we have what we call an annual town council meeting, I can't remember what it is, which is basically like our AGM, which we have every year. And at that meeting, we set all of our committees that do a lot of our legwork. Councillors go on them, and they ask full council that they can go on them. And we also choose one person from anyone in that 30 to put themselves forward as mayor. And then if that person has enough support, then all the other members of the council will vote for them. And whoever has the most votes, or if there's no contest, like I wasn't contested, so I just everyone just voted to say, yes, Luke can become mayor that year. So that's how one is chosen. It's elected by our fellow councillors once a year. And then I serve from May 2022 to May 2023. And then after that, it will be someone else's turn. And we also have elections as well in May, so it may be a whole different council. And it could be someone who's not even a councillor right now. We could have 30 brand new councillors, and they will have to choose within themselves who's going to be the new mayor.
Do you work alone or do you have a team?
Very good question. So the town council, if you sort of like in Bradford Council, in the bigger authorities, what we call principal authorities, then your team very much are other members of your group. So you will have a Labour team, you will have Labour councillors who work together, you will have Conservative councillors who work together, you will have Liberal councillors who work together, Green councillors who work together. And within that as well, you'll work together in things like planning on committees and stuff, where you will work with people from other parties and other teams. Very much in the town council, we are all very much one team, because that's just how it is. We don't have parties to divide us in that sense, so we work together on things. We have disagreements, absolutely, because everyone's different and an individual. Everyone has a different view of how things should be. Sometimes we have tense meetings sometimes because people are split. 3 people want to go one way, 3 people want to go the other way, and the person chairing the meeting's a bit stuck in the middle, wanting to try to make everyone happy. As mayor, the good thing about it is because of your role, the fact that it's a very positive role, it's a very happy role. It's not a political role in that sense. People are very, very, very supportive, and I'm blessed by having a council filled to the brim with people who have been so fantastic, people who've invited me to things, people who've given me advice when I've needed it. The fact that I've got fantastic officers who work for us at the council who do a brilliant job and who are always there to provide advice. It's just brilliant. And on top of that, the team as well goes beyond just the council. My councillors are a part of the team. Some are bigger players than others, as you always have in a team. Some are very, very committed because we're all volunteers. Some have got family lives and jobs. I've got a job, but it's quite hard sometimes to balance all of that. I've got a brilliant deputy mayor in Councillor John Kirby, who's even sort of saying, you can tell when I'm getting stressed, and he's like, just let me go to that. Don't worry about it. And that's what I love about it. But beyond the town council, beyond our officers, the community as well have been so supportive. I know we'll be talking a bit later on about the charity walk, in fact, the next question. But what was amazing with that is how many people came together to support that. People from all parts of the town, all parts of the parish. It was absolutely fantastic. I've got my family as well, my friends who have been brilliant and wonderful, my people I work with, they've been brilliant. They're always saying, if you need to take time off to go to something, don't worry about it. And so, yeah, I do have a team, a very big team of both councillors, the public, and my family and friends, and the groups that I meet and work with, and that's just how it should be and how it needs to be. And that's something that's brilliant about this town.
Well, you did a charity walk. How was it? And how much did you raise?
This was something that I committed to last year. Last year, my predecessor, Councillor Julie Adams, who was a brilliant mayor, she walked from East Riddleston Hall all the way to Skipton, and my word, what a challenge that was. I thought, see, the thing is, it's kind of difficult when you're raising money for your charities, because it's a bit like, you don't want to be the same as the last person. So you sort of got to make it a bit different, and a bit you, because you are different from that person, obviously. So for me, I thought, well, you know what, 10 miles, pretty good that. Well done, Julie. And for Julie, that was a huge, huge challenge, absolutely massive. And I'm so proud of how she did it and what she raised last year. And I was proud to support her with that. But I wanted to push it a bit because I'm a little bit younger in that sense. And I've always wanted, as well, to do and walk the entirety of from Liverpool all the way to Leeds on the canal. Because last year, that's what we did. We did a bit of that. We did the bit from East Riddleston Hall to Skipton. But the Leeds-Liverpool Canal is a lot longer than that. It is 127 miles. And I wanted to do all 127 miles. To really challenge myself, push myself beyond that. And that's sort of how it is, really. That what Julie did was the equivalent in the sense of not in terms of length or distance, but in terms of the challenge itself. The challenge for her, walking those 10 miles, was pretty much on par with me as someone different, someone who walks everywhere. It was the equivalent of me doing all of that, and that's what I wanted to. I wanted to push myself a bit further, and that's what I did. And it was tough. It was extremely difficult. It was lonely as well. One thing you don't realise is not actually the physical bit of it for me. The physical bit of it for me was fine because I walk everywhere. I walk like 15 miles a day as it is. That's normal. This was walking 30 miles a day. No, 20 miles a day. Sorry, not 30 miles. I'm just getting up now. 20 miles a day, 20 to 22 miles a day. On your own, for large parts of it. Drained in an area you don't know. And that in itself, being alone, was the hardest bit of it. When I actually stopped every night, because I was alone, there was no need to talk to anyone. So I sort of didn't. Everything I did was quite transactional. I'd go into the B&B and say, look, I'm here for my room. That'll be about it. Here's your room, here's your key. I'd go do that and wouldn't say anything. So when I was actually joined a couple of days later by someone, I didn't even really remember how to speak for a lot of it, because I'd spent about 3 or 4 days on my own. So that bit mentally was draining, and every day it was hard. You'd always start with a bit like, yeah, we can do this, but by the time you got to like the 15th, 16th, 17th mile, you were like, please just stop. Just stop. It was so hard. It got harder every day to finish it. And certainly on the last day when we finally arrived in Leeds, and I had people with me, I had about 3 or 4 people who were walking that last bit with me, it just went on forever. And it was only half an hour. That compared to the like 6, 7, 8 other hours a day that I was doing, it was just so difficult, so challenging, but so worthwhile as well. I felt such a sense of accomplishment at the end of it. And that was the whole point of it. It's about doing what you can. That's what Julie did last year. When she got her final sum, I think it was around 11,000 last year, from all the hard work she did from that walk and from other things. I knew for a fact that she couldn't have done much more, and she knew that as well. She'd put everything into it. She'd put her all into it, and I was so proud of her. And I hope at the end of this year, when I get my toll, I can know the same. And the walk will be a part of that. There are one or two other things coming up as well, I hope. Not yet fully confirmed, but we're getting there. But already this year, thanks to that walk, I'm a good chunk of the way through to my target, about just over a third now, because we raised £4,600 from that walk, which was a lot compared to the 3,000 target I had. And that was because of the brilliant people of this town coming out, supporting, backing. I only walked the thing. You know, my family were amazing. They were in Morrison's 4 or 5 days. Buckets, there is £800 from Morrison's from doing that, which was just so huge and so reassuring and so, empowering. And that's what it was. That's what I mean with the team. You know, that feeling when you're on your walk, when you're alone. It means even though I was alone physically, technically, I wasn't really alone, because I still had all those people in this town behind me raising money. I had my family behind me. I had all the councillors behind me with that. And, I probably wouldn't do that again because I've done it now, but I certainly, another challenge, more than up for it. I've gone back to swimming, so maybe next year I may do something swimming related. Who knows if I get quite good at that.
I did cycling because I won a cycling group. I used to, but now I don't because I stopped going. I'm scared of heights going up that, that bridge up Manchester Road, that red bridge. I managed to go
Well done.
past it because I'm scared of looking down towards the traffic, and I'm scared of heights. So someone was winding me up, and as I said, I'm just going straight for it. So I thought, that's it, and I've done well. So, and I cycled to Leeds to Liverpool on the canal, but out stopping.
You see, that's just brilliant. And that's what I mean about everyone's challenge is different. Yuli's challenge was different to your challenge. I couldn't cycle it because I can't cycle for one. But doing that in one day is a big, big thing. The fact that you cycled that huge length and distance is brilliant. And that's what I hope, hopefully what I've done can encourage other people to do. Get a challenge in mind. Go do it because you can.
What charities have you raised money for, and why are they important to you?
Oh, brilliant question. So so every year Mayor chooses charity or charities to raise money for, and there'll be ones important to them. I think one of my predecessors raised money for the ambulance service. Last year, Julie raised money for Martin House, which is a charity that supports, I think, predominantly children, many of whom are unfortunately at the end of their lives, and they support their families with that, as well as Manorlands, which obviously provides hospice care to people across the town and beyond. So the charities reflect very much the mayor. And for me, the two charities that I had to raise money for was Dementia Friendly Keighley, which is a charity I chair, which is important to me. We've just, in fact, lost someone quite close to us because of dementia and their ailments. And I've known a lot of the people who volunteer there. I knew the previous chair. I've known lots of people, and I know just how incredible that charity is. They do an incredible job, not just signposting people to different services, but also providing people an escape and an opportunity to come and to meet and to reminisce about their lives. Unfortunately, dementia isn't something that we can cure right now. Although I think there's been some new medicine which they've discovered, which can help alleviate some of the symptoms and some of the causes, but it's not something you can cure. So a lot of it is around supporting their carers as much as possible, giving them a break, giving them support as much as they can get, which is what we do brilliantly, as well as those with dementia, so that they can actually live still their best life possible. Because even though it isn't something we can cure, it doesn't mean you still can't have a pretty good life as you go through that. And the volunteers are just incredible. Our army of volunteers have grown at Dementia Friendly Keighley to about 20 plus. All of them are passionate. All of them are caring. Our staff are fantastic. We've just taken on a new member of staff, in fact, who's very much who's focusing on raising money for us. She's absolutely extraordinary. We've got a BAME worker as well, who we're just working with, getting that project back up on the ground. We have our brilliant Helen, who is every day at the centre, giving one-to-one advice, talking to people, supporting people, and our volunteers who make all that possible. And it's just a brilliant charity. It's in fact, a new employee spoke so highly of it when she joined, saying how proud she was to have joined it, because it's that good, and she's blown away about how we work. And my other charity is very, very close to my heart, and that is It's Worth Talking About. They are a mental health group set up quite a while back. They do group meetings across Keighley, Bingley, and beyond. They're expanding out a little bit. They do specific male-only groups, specific women-only groups, and then specific mixed groups, and have just started a youth group as well up at Haworth, talking about mental health, giving people that support. And, for someone like me who recently struggled with my mental health, it was about them, because they're so, so important, not only to me as an individual with that lived experience of it, but also to other people as well. That's often without that, people will struggle, and they don't need to. If we can alleviate a bit of that worry, a bit of that upset, what we need to do. And that's what they do, absolutely. Kids.
Why is it important to look after our mental health?
Mental health. So I've spoken about it publicly and openly because I think it's important. I think with lived experiences, things that you've gone through, there's no point in just keeping that to yourself. I know some people like doing that, and that is up to them. But for me, talking about it is essential. Mental health will affect pretty much everyone at some point in some way. Some people will be very resilient, and it will only affect them for a short while. For others, it will affect them for a medium length of time, then maybe never again. And for some people, it affects them day in, day out. Mental health, particularly in young people, especially those in secondary school, is really a serious crisis that we still don't fully, I think, acknowledge. But we're getting better at it. The stigma is very much going. And for me, certainly one of the things that when I was younger, a decade ago, the idea of men talking about the mental health was just not even a factor. I mean, no one spoke about mental health as it is, but certainly for a male to speak about mental health, the old cliche of man up, you're all right, get over it, men need to be strong. When actually, there's a reason why a good chunk of those who unfortunately take their own lives are male and are young, because they don't feel like they can talk about it, and you need to talk about it. You need to chat about it. You need to know that there are other people out there who care and are listening. And that is why it is important for groups like It's Worth Talking About. Because, I mean, that's in the name. It's worth talking about because it is. It is worth it. It is worth it. It is needed that you need to go and you need to talk about it. You need to chat about it. You need to get that support, and you need to be not scared to do so. Because if you're scared to do so, then things will escalate and things will get worse. My mental health issues started when I began as a teacher a couple of years back. I was in a school that I wasn't really perhaps the happiest in, and things just piled and piled and piled and piled and piled until my body couldn't take it anymore. I then spent probably 9 a year off work, getting myself gradually fixed. Some of that was stuff I did myself in terms of going for walks and exercise and separate myself out from things, taking time off council duties and other things. Some of it was medication, because that does help. But then a lot of it was making the decision to go to therapy, to go to counselling, to talk to someone about it. And over time, and a lot of work, a lot of hard work, it was still probably a 2-year project, really, until I was in a really, really good place. I got there. But it's hard, and it's difficult, and it's tough, but it's worth it. There were times where I queried if I could live anymore. And I'm really glad I decided that life is worth living. And in fact, I just read a book last night, literally all in one night, because it was hooking, and it's called The Midnight Library, and it very much touches on that. It's a bit like, it's a mixture. I've described it as It's a Wonderful Life and Quantum Leap. I know some people know what either of them are, but this girl just tried to take her own life, and rather than dying, fortunately, that doesn't work out for her. She instead sort of imagines or lives through different lives she could have had, and she realizes that actually life is just for living, that there is no perfect life out there, that every life has got challenges and problems and things that go wrong, and that's okay. Because every single person listening to this podcast at some point will lose a relative, or they will lose an animal, or something will go wrong, or they'll lose the job, and it's not the end of the world, because life is still worth living. You are still alive and breathing, and you are worth it. You deserve that much joy and happiness that you can get. And if things do go wrong, which they will, there will be people there who will support you and listen to you. And that's why looking after your mental health is important. And if you are feeling, listening to this, that things are getting too much, that you are questioning whether or not you are that it's worth living, then reach out and get in touch. Get in touch with my charity. Get in touch with your GP. Get in touch with the Samaritans, who were brilliant with me when I went through difficulty. Get in touch with Mind, another charity. There's a lot of support out there, and that's why it's so important to look after mental health, because so many people needlessly die thinking that life isn't worth living, or that they don't deserve to live, but they do. And if me speaking out can help one or two people get the encouragement, put them in the right direction, signpost them to support so that they can go on and live the best life they possibly can, then, well, my year will have been worth it.
Why is it important to have accessible, safe mental health support for people with learning disabilities?
Yeah, so mental health, as I've said, will affect everybody, people from all backgrounds, all histories, all parts of the country. Doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, disabled or not, mental health can affect you. And within that, because of that, it is vital that mental health support is tailored for people, no matter what issues or difficulties they have. I mean, during my mental health breakdown, I had a very tough time because I couldn't speak for great periods of time, and that was quite difficult, because then how do you talk to someone about your issues if you can't even speak? Fortunately, through the Samaritans, they had a text service and an email service as well. So actually, I didn't need to speak. I could just text or email, chat like that. And that really helped ease some of that pressure and concern. Certainly when it comes to going to groups and stuff, obviously, if things are not accessible, then some people won't go. And I know for a fact that it's worth talking about. We'll always have a conversation with anyone who needs to use the service about that, and make sure that they know what needs they may have, what difficulties they may have, and we'll be able to pinpoint them in different directions, because everyone, again, deserves to have that. And I know that obviously some people with disabilities may struggle even more with that, because they've not only got necessarily life pressures and concerns, but also obviously things with their own bodies that are extremely difficult. So I'd always just say that, I think GPs are probably a good starting point with that. I'll be honest, I don't know if there are particular things, but I know that they will be able to certainly signpost. But do get in touch as much as you can, even if it is just literally online. If you can write an email, because Samaritans have that system. There should be no barriers to having that safe mental health support. So always go to your GP first, or Google if you can. Look at Samaritans. Look at It's Worth Talking About. Give the guy Ryan a ring. He's brilliant. And there will be something out there for everyone, because everyone deserves it and everyone needs it.
We know you also work as a teacher. What do you live about teaching?
Teaching, my other love. I always wanted to be a teacher. I always worked in education since I was, funnily enough, in school. Because my teacher was very much an inspiration. Teaching is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. No day is the same. I can have them on a Monday and they are completely different to how they are on a Tuesday. And sometimes I look at them thinking, how are you the same child? But it's because, just like everybody else, they're human beings. And some days they're coming in with happiness and joy, full of sugar and candy and love. And other days they're coming in with difficulties and challenges and problems, because they're little humans going through a lot of changes, and they're not yet old enough to necessarily be always consistent with how they are. But the thing I love most about it is just when, for example, I've been teaching music. Now, music is not something I'm necessarily strong at teaching. And we've been doing a year 5 module on that, on our system, learning how to sing Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Seeing where they started off from hardly holding a tune to watching them know that song off by heart and sing it pretty much in tune. Volume still was a bit difficult with some people, certainly at the chorus, but that's okay. Just means everything, because it's not something I'm confident at teaching, to be perfectly honest. But knowing that they've still learned a lot from that, and they've still taken a lot out of it. So one of them was humming it when they were meant to be doing an assessment, which was just so funny, because they'd embraced it and loved it. It's that, when you know that you've made such a difference, watching someone repeat back advice that you gave them weeks ago, knowing that it not only stuck, but it's now making a good, positive impact on their life. It's just the best thing in the world. And children are fantastic, creative, fun. One girl in the class invented a whole new language just by saying the word "ra," and just having that creativity. I honestly wouldn't want any other job or role. I love working at the school I love working as I currently am as a HLTA, not as a full teacher, because the mayor stuff takes too much time for that. I wouldn't be able to commit. But being able to teach 4 times a week, being in class with these fantastic children, watching them grow, watching them learn, knowing that you're making an impact on their life, it's the wage doesn't even matter to me in that. Well, I won't say that to my employer, because I don't want them to be cutting. Don't want them to think they're going to get a freebie from me. But it's just absolutely the best and most rewarding job in the world.
What do you enjoy the most about being in the town mayor?
An exact example would be doing this podcast now, to be honest with you. I think this has been, honestly, one of the funnest, most enjoyable mornings of my life, to be honest. Absolutely love it. Being with you guys and doing this, answering these brilliant questions. I think most of it is just that it's going and seeing people, meeting them, learning about what they're doing for this town, because this town is filled to the brim of amazing people. People who love this town, who love each other, who love our community, who want to see Keighley thrive. And that doesn't mean we don't have problems. We do. We have lots of problems. So do many other towns. But what matters most than anything is how you respond to that. And the same goes for your mental health. Everyone at some point will have some impact or experience of mental health. And it's how we respond to that, how we know that there is support there and help there that matters the most. I mean, over this year, so far, and we're not even halfway through. November is my 6-month line. That's when I'll be halfway through the year. I've already seen so much. We had the Jubilee at the start. We've had the Transport Festival, which was amazing. We hosted Yorkshire Day, which was one of the greatest events I think this town's ever seen, where we had over 100 dignitaries come from all over the region, celebrating this town, celebrating Yorkshire here. It was absolutely wonderful. We've obviously we'll have the coronation soon as well, which will be just fantastic. And obviously we've had sadness with that, with the loss of our beloved Queen Liz. But seeing the town, how it's stuck together, how it is so close, how that bond, that community bond, is so deep, and how we are filled so much with loving, wonderful people. It just is the best highlight of it. And I can go to 100 meetings and we can decide 100 different things, but not one bit of that would be more enjoyable than just spending time with people of this town, celebrating this brilliant place that we live in.
Wrapping up our last questions. Thank you very much to Luke for coming in and answering your questions today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Do you have any else you'd like to add before we finish?
Just to honestly thank you guys for such a brilliant morning. I think you're all brilliant. I love it. Absolutely love it. Watching you guys building confidence, like, this isn't easy. It's tough. I've done all that when I was in journalism. Even holding the paper was a challenge and a half. I would obviously keep me in the loop of anything else you chaps are doing. I think the work that you guys do is brilliant. Just when I walked in, you were creating a advice video about safeguarding, which obviously as someone who works at school and works at DFK as well is close to my heart. So do send me a link to that once that's all done. I'd love to see it. And if there's anything else I can support you guys with, just let me know.
Remember to share the show with your friends so we can grow and get more listeners. Thank you for listening, and we see you next time.